Welcome to the X's and O podcast show for the 2020 NFL season. Washington Redskins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk football. Let's break it down. Let's hit these numbers and let everybody know that the Philadelphia Eagles flew high yesterday, even though our first half was kind of rocky. But, they eventually got it together and pulled off a great win yesterday to get inside that win column to get that first win of the year, and also a key divisional game against a very game Washington Redskin team for the first half yesterday. Okay, you know, I can't say no more that, maybe the rust was on with the team yesterday for the first half. Things looked like it wasn't clicking on all cylinders. It was a fill out period, but it took one play in the second quarter, uh, a 50-yard plus pass to Deshaun Jackson that knocked the rush right off of Carson Wentz, and uh, I think Carson Wentz turned the corner after that deep throw, and he showed why the Eagles gave him the money and why they chose him over Nick Foles. And I love Nick Foles, but Carson Wentz is a better talent than Nick Foles, and also too, with adding a deep threat like Deshaun Jackson to his arsenal, makes him an even more dangerous player, because yesterday he showed that he's an accurate passer and he can drop the ball where he needs to drop the ball at. Okay, uh, so my talking point one was a bad first half. You know, Talking point two is running back by committee. I'm not really feeling this running back by committee. I think that you got a veteran running back with Jordan Howard. Feed him the ball, mix Miles Sanders up in there, then occasionally give Darren Sproul a couple of touches. Yesterday, I was kind of disappointed with the fact that it was too much Darren Sproles. The guy he is a talent, but I only want to see Darren Sproles in a limited package. I don't want to see him first, second, and third down as our feature running back when we got other talented backs on the field. And as a fan, you say why, uh, especially after Washington Allen got knocked out of the game. He is the top run stopper, but we didn't exploit that because we had somehow our coaching staff was just so enamored with what Darren Sproul can bring to the team. They neglected the running, the first half. So I honestly think that we left a lot of points on the field because we didn't run the ball, especially when Allen got knocked out of the game. My talking point three was our secondary issues. Yesterday, uh, I don't know what the play was, but you let old guy, 37, 38 years old, basically stream down the field to score a touchdown. And you know, I was so, I was like, what is going on? You know, I couldn't believe that they let this guy just basically hurl and get down the field. Please, somebody tackle. And Sadejo, look, man, this is not Minnesota, man. You can't lay the lumber down on every hit. You have to wrap up and tackle. Tackle. I you know, I was amazed by that. Uh, I was just like, wow, what was it for you to take that angle, or what was it? What made you just, basically lower your head down and not make the tackle? The NFL, yo, you got to see what you're hitting. And yesterday, you know, it's obviously that you know maybe you need to be on selective plays, but you know it was that was one mistake, and then the Rasul Douglas uh, bomb play that was on the coaches. Uh, Rasul Douglas had no business being on a guy that ran 4.3. You know, there's no way in the world he's going to keep up with him. Uh, uh, of course, he got good technique and all that, but he's not going to stay up with a guy who runs 4.3. So I give that touchdown on the coaching and the scheme yesterday. Also, too, penalties. You know, we had some bonehead penalties yesterday. Deshaun had one that, you know, that killed the drive. Also, too, we had one where Derek Barnett killed the drive. I mean, Derek Barnett gave up a key, I think, first down for jumping all sides, or he made him get a field goal out of it. But, you know, as I looked and I observed things yesterday, I say, hey, this is a rusty team that didn't get too much work in the preseason. You know, I'm all about not having players play during the preseason, but I think that the NFL should have more open practices and stuff, so the teams can go one on one and get some quality work in, and also gear them so the fans can see these one on one workouts with other teams. You know, preseason is a wonderful thing, but the injury factors for preseason is just crazy. You know, you lose players early, and you know sometimes you lose key players that you really need during the season. So I'm not for preseason. So I'm one of them guys that say, hey, preseason is overrated. Okay, let's go to talking point 4. Coaches putting players in winnable positions. You know, I touched on this in topic 3 with the secondary issues uh, with Rasul Douglas. Why is he on a 4.3 burner guy? I don't understand, but you know, I don't get paid the big dollars to coach the Philadelphia Eagles. But Jim Schwartz, some of the things that you do as a coach, uh, uh, I say, wow, like playing that sticks defense. I hate when you play that sticks defense. That six defense get us in trouble all the time because that's all you have to do is run a comeback route, cut cut hard, put your foot in the ground, and turn up straight up the field. Zach Ertz do that play a lot. Alshon Jeffrey do that play a lot. You see it a lot. So why are you playing a sticks defense? You know, I don't know. Please tuck that sticks defense deep in your playbook. Please don't call that defense no more. Okay, talking point 5 was the Malik Jackson injury yesterday. Hopefully, a speedy recovery. They're saying he has a foot injury and he'll be out for a couple of weeks. Hopefully, you know, uh, he's not going to miss a lot of game time, but you know, injuries are a part of the game, and that's exactly why I want the preseason either shortened or you know, go to more. I say teams discrimination teams practices. You know, uh, even though injuries can happen there, but I think it's just a little bit more of a controlled environment, and I don't think that players would get too much hurt during uh, you know these practices with other teams. Okay, I already talked about the sticks issue. That was my 6. Poor tackling, I touched on that with the secondary issues. Uh, Offensive line play. The offensive line played extremely well yesterday. I think you know, making the offensive line pass block early in the games. I think that's a lot of pressure on. offensive line. And it's also a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz that's coming back off an injury. I would have played it a little bit different yesterday. Uh, I would have. I don't care how good. I know the Washington Redskins defensive line has a great defensive line, and they got a pretty much good linebacker crew. You know, but still attack them, still pound the ball until you can't pound the ball no more, and then I think you would open up the field a lot more. Going empty backfield uh, early inside the games, teams know what you're going to do. Like, look, I understand that, okay, you the Philadelphia Eagles and you're going to throw the ball down somebody's throat, but you have to be a little bit more creative with your play calling. I don't know who scripted them first 15 plays, but them first 15 plays, they need to tear that up and say, look, let's call plays that's going to be effective. Let's get the offensive linemen a blood boiling by letting them run block and putting leveling defensive players and putting them on their butts. That's what I want to see. And then I want to see uh, the short passing game go, and then go over the top. You know, try something different. This game was a game that the Eagles played a pretty good Washington Redskin defense. Uh, you know, the offense of the Washington Redskins surprised me yesterday by putting up 17 points. But then you had to realize that, you know, not having guys play in the preseason or not having guys in game situations, they had a lot of rust on them yesterday. And, I'm not going to make no excuses for them and all that, because pretty much we seen some pretty bad games yesterday, especially the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packer game that uh, I never want to see another game like that again in life. But as a fan of football, I'm going to watch. Uh, but uh, you can tell the teams who really played their players a little bit during the preseason, they had some sort of chemistry with their players. Uh, Not to mention, Dak had a good game yesterday. I'm not going to sugarcoat the Dak Prescott game yesterday and say that, hey, uh, he played he played a New York Giant team, but he put up numbers and he looked it effective yesterday, and he looked it like, hey, I got something to prove this year. So, you know, uh, not playing the preseason could be a good thing. Not playing the preseason can be a bad thing. So hopefully teams can get their continuities back and get inside the gameplay rhythm uh, by by week two. Week two is a good challenge for the Philadelphia Eagles because they're going to be going to the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons are trying to get inside the win column because they don't want to fall 0-2 for the year. Okay, so our offensive line, I think, played pretty good yesterday, as well as they can play. I have to commend Brooks. He did do a very wonderful job yesterday, being in there, because I didn't have him coming back until after the third game this season. I thought that the Eagles was going to keep him out, but Brooks, hey, he's a professional, and he did what he needed to do yesterday. Uh, Talking point nine, the defensive line. The defensive line, first half, the pressure wasn't there. The I, I, I think they put that secondary in a bind by not getting the pressure that we needed them to get yesterday. And then to mix that in with the poor tackling in the secondary, that was pretty bad too. Far as run defense, I think the Philadelphia Eagles played excellent run defense yesterday. The passing defense was rocky, you know, with tackling, and some players looked like they was lost a little bit out there. So we have to really get our secondary issues cleaned up, because one thing that you don't want to do is go down to Atlanta and let Julio Jones explode all over you. So if we don't get the quick fix by Sunday night, we might have a problem. But I pretty much see the Eagles can, if they control the pace of the game, and they can put together drives and just keep that high power Atlanta Falcons offense on the bench, it, it can be a winnable game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, let's talk about Carson Wentz. He was great yesterday. First half he was a little bit rusty. Second half he pretty much got it together. He pretty much spread the ball around yesterday, and one good thing that I wanted to see was him distributing the ball to different receivers and not using Zach Ertz as his crutch. Uh, Personally, I think when he uses Zach Ertz as his crutch, it gets the team in a pretty much of a bad space, because if one guy's hogging and being dominant to the ball, and the ball is only going to one place, the team is going to say, hey, I really don't have to stick these guys too much. Let's just make sure we keep the pressure on Zach Ertz. And yesterday, we seen for the first time since that 2017 season that Carson Wentz should have been MVP. We saw a ball distributor yesterday. He was hitting everybody like he was hitting everybody in 2017, and I think he got Deshaun inside the game plan, and he got Alshon Jeffries inside the game plan. He had, Ertz had a couple of catches yesterday. I think Aguilar had a catch, but pretty much he was Goddard had a few catches, but pretty much he distributed the ball, and that's what I want to see him do. Okay, let's get into these numbers from yesterday, and I'm gonna switch the screen real fast. Okay, let's talk about these numbers. Case Keenum was 30 for 44. He was 380 yards. He averaged 8.6 yards in the air. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 0 interceptions. He had 1 sack for 10-yard loss. His quarterback rating was 73.5. Okay, Carson Wentz. He was 28 for 39 for 313 yards. He averaged 8 yards a pass. He was 3 touchdowns, 0 interception. He had 1 sack for 0 yards. His quarterback, his QBR was 93.2. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. I think Carson Wentz showed us that if he stays in the pocket and if he make the right decisions inside the pocket, he can be the most deadliest passer inside the NFL. By the way, he distributed the ball yesterday. Okay, let's get to this Washington Russian. I was interested to see Darius Geis make his pro debut yesterday. Last year he tore his knee up, so he was out for the year. From I think from the preseason. So that's another concern about players playing inside the preseason. But Darius Geis was a guy that I kept my eye on in college, and I just wanted to see if he can do the same things that he did at LSU into the pro level. So he had 10 carries for 18 yards. He only averaged 1.8 yards. His longest run was 5 yards, and he had Chris Thomas, which is I think running back Chris Thomas. He had 3 carries for 10 yards for 3.3 yards, and his longest run was 7 yards. As a team, the Washington Redskins was 13 for 28, 2.2 yards, and 7 yards was their longest run. That's come from a stellar Eagles defense yesterday. I think that front four tackled pretty well yesterday, and the linebackers cleaned up everything that they had to clean up behind there, and they filled the gaps, and they pretty much shut down that Washington Redskins. Because one thing about that Washington Redskin uh, offense is they run the ball, and I don't know, you know what what was the deal yesterday with Adrian Peterson being benched, but pretty much when you bench Adrian Peterson, pretty much you told me that you was trying to see what Case Keenum had, and for uh, you to put the ball in the air 44 times with Case Keenum, you playing with fire right there. He's a very manageable quarterback, but I mean, your offense is built from running the ball. So they played inside the Eagles' hand yesterday by passing the ball a lot. That's not a balanced offense at all. And whoever was calling the play calling yesterday should be like, look, let's go back to our bread and butter. Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk about this rushing that we did yesterday. Uh, 9 carries for Darren Sproles, 47 yards, 5.2 yards. His longest run was 17 yards. Like I said earlier inside the podcast, that I don't want to see Darren Sproles touching the ball 9 times, rushing the ball. I might want to see him rush the ball three to 4 times a game, and probably 3 passes a game going to him. I do not want to see Darren Sproles as our feature running back. That's my honest opinion on that. And I'm not a Darren Sproles hater, but I realize that we have talent behind him. And yesterday we could have proved to the rest of the NFL that this running game is something to reckon with. Okay, let's get into Jordan Howard's numbers. He was 6 carries for 44 yards for 7.3 yards average. His longest run was 17 yards. Miles Sanders, 11 carries, 25 yards, 2.3 yards at average. 19 yard was his longest. Carson Wentz was 4 carries for 5 yards, 1.3, zero touch. I don't know why I said zero touchdown. His longest run was 2 yards. Alshon Jeffrey with that shuttle pass running play. He scored a rushing touchdown, 2 yards. Uh, and the team was 31 rushes for 123 yards, 4.0 average, and 19 yards was their longest run. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's a balanced game plan. 39 passes, 31 rushes. Maybe 31 of them rushes shouldn't, 9 of those rushes shouldn't went to Darren Sproles. And maybe Josh Howard would have gave us 70 or 80 yards on the ground if we would have fed the bigger back. So I understood the decor that they wanted Darren Sproles to present. They wanted to put pressure on the Washington Redskins, making them seem like that they can hit the corners whenever they want to hit the corners. But unfortunately, that didn't happen in the first half for us, and that stalled the offense out because we used to seeing the Eagles uh, average about four yards on rushing the ball. Okay, if you're averaging 4 yards on the first play on first down, right? You got 2 more downs to get 6 yards. So that puts a lot of pressure on teams when you effectively run the ball. A lot of I watched a little bit of that New York Giants and Dallas Cowboy game yesterday, and the Dallas Cowboys, they couldn't run the ball at all, so that's why Zach had to put up the numbers that he had to put up. Do I think that Dak Prescott is going to be capable every game of putting up numbers if the running game don't come along because Ezekiel Elliott is rusty because he didn't play the preseason. I don't think so. You you uh, you know you can't manage every game and expect that every team is going to be like that New York Giant young defense. So it was a good win for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's all I'm gonna say. It was a good win, but the Dallas Cowboy fans and most of our groups out here, NFC East, no mercy. They screaming how great Dak looked yesterday and this, that, and the other. Please play Dak Prescott. Please play him a lot of money. You know, uh, look, y'all Dallas, pay him big money. We don't care. Only thing the Philadelphia Eagles fans care about is winning Super Bowls, uh, uh, in advancing inside the playoffs. We have nothing. We have nothing to do with how good you think your team are and how you compare your roster to the Philadelphia Eagles. Y'all have a stellar team. Keep pace. That's all. That's all I want to say. It's early. Keep pace. If the Philadelphia Eagles go down here and win both sides of the ball against the Atlanta Falcons, it's going to be an interesting year this year. You know, uh, it seemed like the scheduling department for the NFL, they always get a Dallas Cowboy layups inside the first half of the year. Got them playing a week. A weak Giants team, and then you got them playing the Washington Redskins. It just seemed like their schedule is favorable for them. But I look, they still got to play these games, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the better looking team, and the Philadelphia Eagles can do some things that the Dallas Cowboys can't do, and I think if Jim Schwartz and them uh, 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 to fine tune uh, that secondary a little bit and stop having so many components move in and out of the game, it'll be a whole lot better for us. Okay, let's get to Washington Redskins receiving. Oh, let's talk about this young man, Terry McLaurin. He had a pretty much great game yesterday. He would have had an even better game if that lame quarterback uh, could have hit him with that. Keenan would have hit him with that deep pass in the second half. That probably would have sucked the air out of our comeback attempt. But I'm glad that he overthrew the ball and Terry McLaurin couldn't get up under that ball. So let me switch over back to the stats. Okay, Terry McLaurin had 5 receptions for 125 yards. He averaged 25 yards per attempt, and he was one touchdown, 69 yards was his longest, and he had 7 targets. Chris Thomas, 7 receptions for 68 yards, 9.7 average, 1 touchdown, 48 yards was his longest, and he had 7 targets. Vernon Davis, the ageless one, that got hurdled, are safety and a cornerback. I was like, wow, they let this old guy make them look crazy out there like that. But Vernon Davis had 4 receptions for 59 yards, 14.8. That's a little bit too much for this old guy. 1 touchdown, 48 yards was his longest, and 7 targets. Paul Richardson, he was 4 receptions for 36 yards, 9.0 average. 17 was his longest, and he had 7 targets. Trey Quinn, 4 receptions, 33 yards, 8.3 average, 1 touchdown, 14 yards was his longest, 6 targets. Kelvin Harmon, 2 receptions, 31 yards, 15.5 average, 0 touchdown, 21 was his longest, and he had 2 targets. Darius Geis, he had 3 receptions for 20 yards, 6.7 average, and he had 0 touchdowns. 8 was his longest, and 3 targets. Jeremy Sprinkle, he had 1 reception for 8 yards. He had 8.0 average. Longest was 8 yards and 1 target. They was as a team, they had 30 receptions for 380 yards. 12.7 was the average. 3 touchdowns. 69 yards was the longest. 43 targets. Let's get into this Philadelphia Eagles receiving core. Deshaun Jackson's excellent game yesterday took the top off the off the Washington Redskins defense. He had 8 receptions for 154 yards. He averaged 19.3 yards average. He scored 2 touchdowns, and 53 yards was his longest. He had 10 targets. Zach Ertz, 5 receptions yesterday for 54 yards, 10.8 uh, for average, 0 touchdowns, 26 yards was his longest. He had 7 targets. Like I said, Zach Ertz is going to get a lot more balls thrown this way. I think his targets in the next couple of games will be 10 to 12 a game, and uh, it's a lot of receivers and there's a lot of people with good hands on this football team. So long as the team stay balanced, I think long as this team win, teams won't having problems with success by winning. So Alshon Jeffries, he had 5 receptions for 49 yards, 9.8 yards average. He had 1 touchdown. Then he had 16 yards was his longest, and he had 6 targets. Like I said, Alshon targets, I think is going to increase a little bit more. The odd man out for this receiving core might be Nelson Aguilar, but we'll see in in the upcoming games. Dallas Goedert, he had 2 receptions, 16 yards, 8.0 average. 9 yards was his longest, and he had 3 targets. Darren Sproles, 3 receptions, 16 yards, 5.3 average, 0 touchdowns, 7 yards was his longest, and he had 3 targets. Nelson Aguilar, 2 receptions, 11 yards, 5.5 is his average, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. 7 was his longest, 7 yards was his longest, and 5 targets. Jordan Howard, 2 receptions, 11 yards, 5.5, 0 touchdowns, 6 yards was his longest, and 3 targets. Miles Sanders, 1 reception, 2 yards, 2.0, 0 touchdown, 2 yards was his longest, and 2 targets. The Philadelphia Eagles was 28 receptions for 313 yards, 11.2 average, 3 touchdowns, 53 yards was the longest, and 39 targets total. Give me a little bit of drink of water here. Thank you guys that check out the podcast show, X's and O podcast show. I'm going to try to do bigger and better things. I'm going to try to clean up, put intros on the videos and stuff like that to make it more of a professional looking production. And also too, I'm definitely going to try to have some of our One Team Bird Nation members over to the house to actually shoot a podcast show with other people's perspective of what they seen, because two voices sometimes can be a good thing, and this is just a hobby of mine. I started out writing down, breaking down the games, and then I put some pressure on myself last year by saying, Mike, I'm gonna actually go and do a video podcast. And Mike was like, that's a great idea. Everybody do read and comment on your written game breakdowns, and uh, make that's a transition that you might want to do. Instead of writing all of that stuff out, you can just go into a video podcast. I say, okay. So, that's what I had in mind. So, he pretty much instilled and encouraged me to do the X's and O podcast show. And I'm kind of thankful that he gave me that lane to post it on the One Team Bird Nation page. And, we're going to try to do bigger and better things to make this more exciting for everybody this year. Okay, let's get down to, there wasn't no fumbles yesterday. So that was a good thing. There wasn't no turnovers yesterday, period. So, both teams, I think, was coached well, but the Washington Redskins, it's just something about that coach for the Washington Redskins that I pretty much don't see how great of a coach he is. I just sit there and I look and I wonder sometime, and I say, look, some of this stuff this guy, this Ruben guy is doing. If he was in other cities, he would have been fired by now. But Dan Snyder, I'm glad that you're confident enough to say this guy is a great coach and he's doing great things down there. So keep on having this guy coach your team because you're one of the most destructive owners in a league with tearing your team up and not putting the proper assets on the field. So that's one thing that I can say about that Washington Redskins since Dan Snyder been the owner. I think that they really fell back behind in having putting quality teams together. So okay, broke down the receiving. I I'm not gonna go down individual tackles and stuff for the defensive players yesterday. So I'm just gonna go to I'm gonna pick three standout players for the Washington Redskins. One was Quentin Dunbar. He played a excellent game yesterday, even though he got burned by Deshaun 2 times. But I think that he had he had 9 total, 8 solos, 0 sacks, and Cole Holcomb. He had 9 total, 8 solos, and Landry Collins had 7 total, 6 solos. So as a team, they had 63 uh, total tackles, and they had 49 solo. So I mean, that's pretty much good numbers. Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles side. Nigel Bradham has 7 total, 6 solos. Andrew Sadeo, 5. He would have had 6 if he would have got that tight end and took him down to the ground. But but he had 5 solos. Okay, Ronald Darby, he had 5 total, 5 solos. Let's talk about Derek Barnett yesterday because it was something that I seen out of Derek Barnett also too. He had 4 total tackles. He had 3 solos. But uh, when you watch that game yesterday, he stood out on the defensive line. Actually, I think he played a better game than Fletcher Cox yesterday, and Malik Jackson before Malik Jackson got injured. Uh, so 96. He popped yesterday, and I was in favor of drafting Derek Barnett. A lot of people a lot of Eagle fans was like, "Oh, Derek Barnett, this Derek Barnett, that." This man is going to be a killer. If he did it in the college rankings, and he dominated some of the best talent inside that Alabama and division. It's just slipped my mind that division that they in. But he held games against Alabama, LSU, Georgia. So he put up some great numbers in college. And if it wasn't for him getting hurt, I think last season, I think that he would have had a breakthrough season just as well. So I'm expecting big and better things out of number 96 Derek Barnett for the Philadelphia Eagles, and hope as I hope as fans of the Philadelphia Eagles that you'll let this good defensive end become great, because I think that he's going to be great pretty soon. And I think this is his season to come out and show and prove why the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Derek Barnett. Uh, Also, let's talk about Sidney Jones, and let's talk about Rasul Douglas, and let's talk about uh, Avant Maddox. Uh, we really can't get a a good scope of what these guys can bring to the table, because it just seemed like we just shuffle our cornerbacks like our running backs. Like, when are you going to give these guys enough time to go out there and make plays instead of taking them in and out of the field? Look, decide who you're going to start, and when if they getting beat or something like that, take them out of the game. But don't keep shuffling our cornerbacks and moving them out of position and putting them in 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 predictions in bad scenarios, just like the Rasul Douglas play. That was a bad coaching strategy. Uh, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Jim Swartz, you got to get better, man. You got to get better, man. Uh, you know, the X's and the Old podcast show like to touch on issues just as well. Yesterday, uh, one of the Philadelphia Sixers uh, guys, Scott, wore Washington Redskins down to a tailgate party, and it got a little. It turned from a verbal altercation into, some hands got to be put on some people. Look, I understand that Scott is a player for the Philadelphia Sixers. He's a basketball player, but that don't mean that he has to have allegiance to the Philadelphia Eagles. If he grew up a Washington Redskins fan, that's his preference to grow up as a Washington Redskins fan. Uh, you know, if that was Allen Iverson walking through the crowd wearing a Dallas Cowboy jersey and a hat like he used to do when he was a Philadelphia 76er, would he have gotten the same treatment? So we have to understand that everybody don't have to have allegiance to our sports franchise. If he played for the Sixers, he can root for the Washington Redskins. That's who he grew up rooting for. So therefore, as fans, we got to stop taking things so personal, and also too, we got to stop being so disrespectful. Because if that casket had a Sean Teller jersey on there, that's very disrespectful. And 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 you know, certain things are past common sense, and some of the fans don't have good common sense, and we wonder why we always get centered out as being the most nastiest fan base in the NFL. And uh, we got to stop doing bonehead things, because if that truly was a Sean Teller's jersey on top of that casket, them people should be ashamed down there, because uh, you know, Sean Teller died tragically. He was taken too early, and also he was a very good football player. So uh, I don't have no ill will to that, but uh, you know, that's making the city of Philadelphia look pretty bad when you got a casket with a Teller jersey on it, and you don't care about his family members that still may be mourning for the loss of their loved one. So we have to get better as a fan base. We got to stop being idiots. We got to stop doing bonehead things. And just because they wear a different color, don't mean that uh, 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 we should just go and attack these people. We got to be better, Philadelphia Eagle fans. I'm not, you know, yesterday uh, that's circulated all over social medias, making headlines today, and that just make our city look bad. And we already got a bad mark as being lousy fans to opposing teams and opposing fans from other teams. So we got to clean that up down there. Hopefully, Comrade Heads will cool going forward. Sorry about that. My phone going crazy, but we got to clean it up. Okay, I'm not gonna get into no political commentary this week because we already know our president is extra special and he really don't need no more media hype because he loves to see his name inside the news because he's an egomaniac. Let's work on what we need to work on as a country, and let's just keep the spirit of football uh, that we love. We need to just get better. Our country need to get better. Our president need to get better. Our elected leaders need to get better. Uh, us as people definitely need to get better. And, we can't do that without putting the man upstairs at the forefront of our lives. Because when we walk with God, we know that we got some things that we need to do, and that's to love thy neighbor. Because Jesus said it perfect. It's two commandments that you should follow: love thy God and love thy neighbor. And we have to treat everybody with brotherly love. You know, I'm born and raised in North Philadelphia, uh, and I had my fair shares of fights. But as I got older and as I got kids and as I got grandkids, I learned how to distinguish myself from foolishness and, and walking away to live to tell the story. Uh, that yesterday could have ended bad. Somebody could have seriously got hurt yesterday. So we gotta just take it easy. And also too, prayers going out to Nick Foles for breaking his collarbone yesterday. Uh, you know, Nick Foles was always a fan favorite. And, I personally like Nick Foles, but I didn't think that he was a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. But hopefully he'll have a speedy recovery, and we just wish Nick all the what was I trying to say? A speedy recovery, and hope that everything goes well for him down there in Jacksonville. Uh, Next week, we're going to talk about the Atlantic Falcons that lost last week. How bad did the Atlantic Falcons lose? If you don't mind me, I'm looking to see. Okay. Whoa. They lost 28-12 to the Minnesota Vikings. Let's see what Kirk Cousins. Matty Ice was 33 for 46 for 304 yards. Kirk Cousins was, y'all ain't gonna believe this, and this guy is getting paid. He was 8 for 10 for 98 yards. There's no way in the world, as a quarterback in the NFL, right, that you should only threw 10 passes yesterday. Wow, that's amazing. Woo! See, let me click over here so you guys can see that. Sorry about that. The commercial came on because I scrolled down the screen. But see, what you can do better if you're the Philadelphia Eagles is let's see, this Atlanta Falcon rushed for 17 carries, had 17 carries for 73 yards. This Minnesota rushing attack, 38 rushes, 38 carries for 172 yards. They pounded the Atlanta Falcons on the ground. So look here. Can we run the ball this week? I think we going to have the opportunity to run the ball. I think running the ball, tire out this Atlanta uh, defense, and then throw the ball over the top. And we should leave out of Atlanta with a win. Uh, for them to give up 172 yards, they it seemed like they defensive line and they linebackers are not tackling, and we should be able to exploit some of these holes and stuff for this week. So look, the X's and O's are only going to get better. Hope everybody uh, have a safe week. You know, get to Sunday night. We got a late game this week, so we can watch plenty of other games because we as fans we have to scout the competition. You know, just to see some of these teams do some of the things that they do. That's why before I left out for church this Sunday, I said let me watch some of this Dallas Cowboy and Washington Redskin. New York Giants game, and Eli was Eli. I don't know why they got Eli started, but they're the New York Giants, and they believe that Eli is the second coming of Tom Brady, and I don't know why. Okay, you beat Tom Brady twice, but it's time for Eli to be holding the clipboard and helping that young quarterback make a transition to being a pro quarterback. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to close it out in prayer like I do every week. So, Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for all that you do, Lord. We thank you for what you have provided for us. We we thank you for our families. We thank you for our friends. We thank you for this country we in. And Lord, we just ask that you bless this country like you blessed this country for many, many more years. We just ask that you stabilize our president and our government and let them to do the will of the people and help people, not just sit up there battle about things that don't need to be argued about. And Father, help censor our president and hopefully with your will that you will elect this guy out and have somebody that's more diplomatic who understand that we can't play favoritisms in politics and we can't oppress people or we just can't take out certain things on certain races of people because we don't understand them. He's supposed to be the president of the free world, and sometimes I just think that he thinks that he's in the boardroom instead of being the president of the greatest country on the planet. So God, we just ask that you touch him, and help us not to get so caught up in all of this stuff that he does. And we just hope that he finish out his term and you just put somebody better in place. Lord, we pray for our families, we pray for our friends, we pray for our football family, our favorite football teams that we like to see go out and do battle each and every weekend. We pray for all the players that got hurt in week 1 and during the preseason. We pray for speedy recoveries. Hope that they are able to be a part of their family lives a little bit more. So we just ask all these things in Jesus Christ's name. We pray, amen. Hey, thank y'all for watching week 1 Excellent Old Podcast Show. Hopefully I can get good, I can get better, and give y'all better product. It's getting easier to sit here and record myself on the microphone. But next week, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Atlanta Falcons. And that should be an interesting game. And hopefully our Eagles will fly. Eagles fly. All right, y'all have a good night.